earlier, one came in 20 minutes, sir. This is Meena. Was who was say meeting in progress.
Good evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay. So I think it's time and we can start the event. I hope all our panelists are here. I can see Dr. Kushal Kumar, Dr. Punita, Chaya Srivatsav, Dr. Wang, Professor Pramod is yet to join, I guess. Professor Pramod, you here? Manushri?
Not yet, ma'am.
Okay, I will send the link to him. Okay, I think we can start the event, right? Because we have the first guest, our sessions chair is here. So I think that will do the job. So in the meanwhile, he can join, isn't it?
Are there any participants waiting? Should we let them in?
Yeah, if there are any participants waiting, please let them in, Manushri.
Noted, ma'am.
Good evening. Yeah, I think we can start, right?
Can we start? Yeah.
Dr. Punita, yes.
Yeah, on behalf of GMC, it's my pleasure to host the 73rd session of the webinar. Probably this is the longest running webinar. And I'm so happy to introduce Dr. Bhargavi Hemingway, who will be the moderator for today's session. She's an associate professor and head of the Department of Media Studies at Center for Management Studies, Jain, deemed to be university. She's also the chair for Community Radio Active. She has over 14 years of experience in teaching and research. She has also been working with NGOs and stayed associated with the Govt of Karnataka. One of the noteworthy engagements is being the media coordinator to Bangalore San Francisco Sister City Initiative, where she closely worked with Mayor of San Francisco, angel investors, and Govt of Karnataka. She has also served as syndicate member to the University of Mangalore. That's quite an achievement at a young age. And she's also a founder member of a society for visually challenged students in Mysuru and has been instrumental in setting up a Skype bank for them. She's passionate towards gender equality, environment and climate change, and grassroots media, particularly community radio. She's completed funded projects on social media and adolescence, community radio, and has been working on tribal education project and juvenile home project. She's presented and published in national and international conferences and assisted many students in many live projects. So the floor is all yours. Over to you, Bhargavi. All the best. You're muted.
Thank you, Dr. Punita. I asked you to keep it brief, but it's all right. Okay, so I welcome all the panelists to this 73rd session. So this is almost one of the last sessions. So we are going to close in another 2 sessions. So I welcome all the August members to this media, innovation and development, changing landscape in 21st century. So today we have with us in the capacity of sessions chair, Dr. Kushal Kumar, who was my teacher at Mysore University. Really honored to have you here, sir. Sir reluctantly agreed, only I think because I persuaded him so much that he couldn't say no. Thank you for agreeing, sir. It's a pleasure to have you here. And yes. And also we have with us Chaya Srivatsav, a very well-known media professional, PR professional, who is going to speak with us on the changing dynamics of PR, how PR transitioned into corporate communications. So welcome Chaya Srivatsav to this GMEC session. You're muted. Chaya, you're muted.
Hi. Glad to be here.
Hello. Yes, as a corporate speaker, Chaya is with us. And as part of our international and keynote address, we have Dr. Wang Chang Song from Malaysia. I'm going to introduce Sir when his turn comes. We welcome you, sir. Thank you for agreeing and being part in spite of it being 11 o'clock. As you told, it's 11 o'clock there. Thank you for being awake and joining here with us. And it's my utmost pleasure to welcome my friend and professor, Dr. Pramod Kumar, who is the professor in English in the School of Humanities, IGNO. Thank you for accepting our invitation and, thank you for being here as our guest. We welcome you, sir. Also, we
So
welcome
glad.
all the other students, my students and others who have joined this session. Thank you. And now over to Dr. Kushal Kumar, sir. Before that, I would just like to give a brief introduction on media innovation and development, and also a few lines about GSEC. So Global Communication Education Conclave, GSEC, as this is called, is an initiative started during COVID by August media scholars across India, like Professor K.G. Suresh, Professor Ujjwal Chowdhury, Dr. Umashankar Pandey, Dr. Amrish Saxena, Dr. Shahid Rasul. So these people and many other media personalities and scholars joined together during COVID and came up with this huge initiative of putting the media scholars across India for this 75-day mega event where all the facets of media studies, media journalism is discussed. And there is a working committee members panels which moderates each day. So today is my day, and all of you are welcome to be here and discuss the important aspects of media innovation and development and its contemporary facets in the 21st century. So now coming to today's topic, as we all are aware, the media innovation. So whatever we are seeing today, from the invention of Gutenberg's Bible to this metaverse, the changing dynamics of changing dynamics of sharing information has taken many forms and phases. And the importance of media, its innovation, and particularly the innovation of movable types, which was actually heralded as one of the greatest invention of this millennium. The credit goes to John Gutenberg. So everything started with him, brought forth an information society or an awakened society, which we all know, all the American Revolution, French Revolution, activism, the age of enlightenment, all that we have seen, all started with this invention, because, this made people, the common man, to access information, which was till then only the privilege of the elite, or the people who were rich, or the elite class in the European society. So I think if we go back to the history of media or printing press, the Lutheran thesis, which was the direct result of this invention, which was the viral document those days in the 15th century, that started the process of questioning in the media. So from there to today, we have come a long way. And today we have with us Dr. Kushal Kumar, whom I'll be introducing now, who will take this discourse forward. So, sir, Dr. Kushal Kumar is an MS and PhD in communication, has over 38 years of experience, so almost 4 decades of experience in teaching in media. Sir has taught both in India and abroad, and has been a Fulbright scholar in 1987 at the Newhouse School of Communication, Syracuse, New York. Dr. Kumar specializes in communication theories and research, along with advertising and corporate communication. Sir has taught in many universities. So as I told, he was my teacher at Mysore University. And then Sir went on to Manipal University, Sultanate of Oman, Amrita University, Manipur University, Jaipur, and currently he is working as a professor at lovely Professional University, Punjab. So now I request you to kindly take over as the session chair and take this narrative forward. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Bhargavi. So nice of you. You gave a pretty elaborate introduction about me. And I think the topic of discussion today is very, very appropriate for two reasons. One, we have always been talking about media and development. Probably every textbook, every graduate, every postgraduate has been told about how media has played a critical role in the development of society. And very often we refer to landmark developments that have taken place in the area of agriculture, what we call it as green revolution, in the area of dairy farming, what we call it as Operation Flood or White Revolution. Probably when I look at these, they look very extinct for me now. I belong to the old generation, but still they look very, very pale in front of me now. The reason is the addition of another word here, which we are discussing today, that is innovation. So we never try to link media development in terms of innovation. And that is exactly what is happening in the new century. We never linked innovation to media. We never linked innovation to development. So I'm really happy that these three keywords will be discussed in this webinar today. And I'm sure very bright ideas will come from other speakers. I would like to make a mention here. Way back in 2006, when I was, 2009, when I was teaching in College of Applied Sciences, Ibri, Sultanate of Oman, I came to know that Dr. Yahya Kamalipur, the chairman emeritus of Global Communication Association, was visiting Oman. And I just invited him to the college to give us a lecture to our students, Omani students. Readily he accepted. He came down and gave an excellent lecture on the new technologies at that point of time. I don't think world has changed a lot since he gave that lecture way back in 2009. But what is the most important thing that has struck into my mind till date is at the end of the lecture, he asked one question. Probably, Bhargavi, your generation should be able to answer this. The question is, what after internet? Do we have anything after internet? Then he himself answered the question, probably internet too. Probably internet too. So now the question is, you people should be able to tell us, have we reached that stage? Have we reached that stage of internet too? The reason is internet has revolutionized every walk of our life. There is not a single place internet has not touched. I'll just give you how this has brought in radical changes in every generation. If I'm allowed to take a personal example here, Bhargavi, and other members, with your permission. My father-in-law is 99 years old. Last year, he purchased a smartphone. Today, he is very good in making videos, uploading videos, unimaginable. He's 99, next year he'll be 100, and he has a very good smartphone with him today. Every week he makes a video call to me. A person who was born when newspapers were not there is using smartphone. So I think we do not have some kind of an end point here. Yes, Bhargavi rightly said, we had a beginning, John Gutenberg with his movable types. But at least in my generation, we will not be able to see the end. Probably your generation will not be able to see the end because this progression will continue. So let us try to answer that question. Where are we going to reach in this webinar? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Kushal Kumar, sir, for this introductory remarks. I think this will give a direction to this discourse. Now, I would like to introduce Dr. Pramod Kumar, who is our chief guest today, to address the gathering. And before that, sir, I would like to formally introduce you to the gathering. So, Professor Pramod Kumar Mehra is a PhD in English and a professor of English in the School of Humanities at IGNOU, Indira Gandhi Open University, New Delhi. Dr. Pramod Kumar is an Australian studies scholar and has received prestigious Australia-India Council Fellowship. He's also acted as a cultural ambassador of India and has given lectures on India's incredible cultural diversity. His area of interest and expertise include new literature, world literature in English, literary theory and criticism, distance education, South Asian politics, Australian studies, translation theory and research. He is the coordinator of PG Diploma program in book publishing. He has authored 6 books centering on literature, criticism, and translation. So this is a brief introduction of Professor Pramod Kumar, sir. And without wasting much time, I would like to call you over the lobby to give your address, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. Good evening to all of you. I hope I'm audible to all of you.
Yes, sir, you are.
Okay. Thank you very much. First of all, let me express my sincere thankfulness and gratitude to all the organizers for this incredibly impressive platform that is in the making. I have been tracing the impact, and I think this is going right in the direction that one really looks forward to as far as our contemporary times are concerned. And you see, when we were discussing about this, about media, about innovation, and about development, as a teacher, I think everything has to lead to, everything has to link up to development in a very significant, in a very direct manner. And as a person, as a teacher operating in the higher educational scenario in our Indian situation, I think it is very important. And in the new education policy, when we are talking about coming up with new framework where we are able to link more with the society, contribute more to the making of a better society, a better nation, and a better world, it is very important. And today's discussion is very important. If I may begin with that, when we are approaching this subject as far as media and development is concerned, I think as academicians, there is a big need to merge these seemingly different and little contrasting areas. When we are saying, like, you understand all, so much of disciplinary knowledge has been created in the media discipline. And then we look at development, we find that like when we are placed in positioned in 75th year of our independence, we find that there's still a gap between the people at large and then the policy framework. So there's a huge need. And if I may just share briefly about new this is there. This is development communication as a discipline is on for the last decade or so. But that again has come out that again looks very elitist. I mean that is there right in mainstream, very and very a pricey tag, and not every student is able to kind of connect to that idea. We have in my university, we have started a course, a PG diploma program in development communication, where we're bringing the theoretical framework of media and communication and journalism with how we can integrate that seamlessly with the policy development policy framework, both at the national and international level. When we are what we are trying to do, I mean, cater to, in the sense, directly whether we can kind of put an end to the miseries that we feel like. I'm when I look at it, if I'm reminded of George Gilder in 1990s, like about 30 years back. He declared that the phenomena of the death of the television, where he talked about that it will and it will usher in a new age. I think that when we are situated in 21st century, we need to really probe into whether we have accelerated the strong trend of power transfer to citizens. That is very important when we are seeking and exploring, seeking to explore the interlinkages between media and development, and then the innovative framework. So this is very important. I feel that perhaps we need to travel more distance. We need to kind of cover more areas as far as that, to ensure that the maximum power, maximum media as a most enabling, facilitating agency. This is very important. And when we find that a lot of fragmentation and new fusions in media components has taken place, and the outcomes are predictable. Only constant is the necessity or inevitability of the dramatic change. This is very significant. And I find that when we are with so few people to enter into the digital world, I mean, I think that there are still, as far as our situation is concerned, I feel that there are some issues. And as far as cost part is concerned, we need to look at the the cost of innovation has to be checked, and that has to come down. This is crucial because representing a massive change, especially for the enterprises, and for a kind of geographical landscape that we are placed in. I think this is very important. And if I may make a couple of more points. I'll try to be brief, because I know sometimes when you are discussing this in the context of we have so many areas to cover. India is a microcosm of the whole world. And we find that as a part of this turbulent process, media will continue to become an almost genetic extension of ourselves. When we Professor Kumar just talked about a kind of video connection between two people who in a way didn't belong to this generation. Today we are talking about touch, gesture, and voice commands have become the second nature of modern product constructs, and embedding technology and patterns and personalities from the youngest age. And this thing, the usage of technology is now an embedded part of most of us. For children and teenagers, almost core to their being. So this is something that I find very interesting. And when we are talking about trends in the 21st century, I find that we'll continue to see increasing consolidations, in markets, and fiercely heightened competition internationally, where technologically smart solutions define both the field of the battle and the success part of it. We, as far as India is concerned, nations and their legal frameworks over time, such international regimes are taking place. This is a kind of new global multinationalistic framework emerging. This is something that media world has to negotiate with, that how we are discussing Twitter, we are discussing Facebook, I hope you are tracking this Musk trying to invest in Twitter for a huge amount, and when what his idea of free speech looks very expensive in that sense. I don't know, when I read that piece of news in media, I find it little like that has to be looked at with with great sense of carefulness, and then I think that if you look at in the sense that education, which has to date surprisingly been one of the slowest respondents to change. I think if you look at media and innovation and development, I think in the post-COVID scenario, it will a paradigm shift, and I think it will where I think whole situation will depend on our adaptability and our propensity to adopt those changes. This is very important, and I think that effective delivery standards in the primary and secondary level education is very important. And I think we are more or less stuck there in the maybe in the, you may say that maybe 20 years on the slower side. So this is important, and I'm saying that let's imagine a situation where all the frameworks in media, like when we look at Marshall McLuhan in terms of what he said as far as a global village, and this the medium is the message concept. I think we need to utilize the power of media to the maximum to kind of streamline and to mainstream the most important interest of public and society at large. That is very important, and I think that that approach, that central idea that we media has to cater to the larger interests of people, like be it education, be it policy, and be it in any walk of life. So this is something that I would come to you in between also. Like I feel that today's situation, in terms of we are talking about VUCA times. VUCA, I mean volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. I think in this they say that this is a characteristic of this digital era. But I think if we merge it with development attitude and aptitude, and with kind of this relentless approach with innovation, I think we will be able to secure a better future for our next generation. I would stop here, and I would thank all the organizers once again for this important discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Pramod, for bringing us or giving this lecture on the importance of media as a facilitator, and also particularly pointing out in bringing down the cost of innovation. And for us, media, you being an English scholar, bringing the example of Global Village and McLuhan is really impressive. As we all know, McLuhan likened the vast network of communication system to the extended central nervous system, ultimately linking everyone and everything in this world. And his phrase global village, which he coined in the 1960s, was actually criticized. People, when he also insisted that the medium was the massage, not message, he said massage. And also his statement in 1958 in the Vancouver conference, which he wrote in his book, Understanding Media, The Extensions of Man, 1964, he was subjected to unnecessary criticism. But today, we can't agree more with him. So thank you for bringing his perspective here. It was very appropriate. In fact, I wanted to say that in my introductory remarks, but you brought in the conversation. Thank you for that. So now we have reached the central and the most important point of this international webinar event, wherein we are going to facilitate the winner, the achievement, where we are going to celebrate the life and achievements of a contributor to media world. Do we have Sir here? I can't see Sir. Dr. Balasubramanian. Sir, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here. I am audible.
Right. Yeah. Sir, can you switch on the video, please? So that I can introduce you to everyone.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, today we have with us an eminent scholar, professor, who has again served the media education world for more than 4 decades. He's none other than A.S. Balasubramaniam, sir, who is currently serving as a senior fellow at the ICSSR at the Department of Electronic Media in Bangalore University. So, sir, to introduce sir has been awarded Emeritus Fellowship by the UGC. He has served as Professor, Chairman, Department of Mass Communication and Journalism, Karnataka University, Dharwad, for more than 3 decades. He is also the coordinator of Swami Vivekananda Center of the university. Dr. Balasubramaniam studied at the University of Mysore for his graduation and post-graduation and obtained his doctoral degree from University of Mysore. He was a full-time teacher for around 37 years. He worked for 2 years in 2 Kannada newspapers in Bengaluru before joining the Department of Communication, Bangalore University in 1977. Dr. Balasubramaniam joined Karnataka University in the year 1982, and he superannuated there in 2014. Dr. Balasubramaniam played a major role in building the department as a leading center of media training and research in North Karnataka. He was the chairman of the department for over 2 decades. He initiated 2 more programs, mainly a 2-year master's program in electronic media and a 1-year diploma in graphics and animation. He was instrumental in setting up the state-of-art multimedia production facility, Educational Technology Multimedia Center, ETMC, in the campus. Dr. Balasubramaniam also served as Karnataka University syndicate member. He was also a member of Academic Council, Dean, and Faculty of Social Science. He also served as member of UGC panel in communication for 1 year. He played a major role in training rural journalists, which is very impressive, in the state of Karnataka through Karnataka Media Academy. Sir has published over 150 articles in newspapers and magazines and has produced over 50 research articles in national and international journals. He has guided over 25 students to get their doctoral degrees. He has also been awarded Fulbright Scholarship in Communication Technology from Syracuse University, USA during 1990-91. The Public Relations Council of India confirmed on him the prestigious Chanakya Award for his academic excellence in 2013. Currently, he's a freelancer and writes on contemporary media issues. I would request Dr. Balasubramaniam to accept the Achievement Award from GSEC, sir. So over to Professor Punita for the honor. Can the video be played?
Yeah, can you play the video? Congratulations, Dr. Balasubramanian. In fact, one of my first conferences in 2002 was in Dharwad. I think I met you there then. And yeah, it's a privilege for GMEC to honor you. It's actually, we are honored, not in honoring you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Can we, so we would like to have an address from you.
Am I audible, Bhargavi?
Yeah. Yeah, but your video is not visible.
But
sir.
video is not coming. I am not.
It's okay, sir. You can speak. No problem.
I know.
Yeah. Thank you very much to all of you. It has been a wonderful, occasion, and I'm extremely happy to be part of, this GCEC, a kind of a big initiative taken by media teachers in this country. 75 days of, sessions, inviting people from all over the world and bringing people together, the practicing journalists, teachers together and discussing what is happening in this wonderful country, especially in the field of communication. So I'm extremely happy and privileged to be part of this GCEC 73rd day webinar, which is focusing on media innovation and development, changing landscape in 21st century. Today we have 4 eminent speakers with us. My dear friend and longtime associate, Dr. Kushal Kumar, is session chair. I am very happy. Chief guest, Dr. Pramod Kumar, already delivered the keynote speech. Dr. Wang Changosang and corporate speaker Chaya Srivastava would be delivering their talk soon. I am thankful to working committee member Dr. Punita D, moderator Dr. Bhargavi Hemige, and fellow participants of the webinar. As a teacher, I feel proud, happy, contented to receive this award from GCEC. Teachers shape our career. They guide us and help us to achieve success in life. Today, I remember my teachers, Dr. Nadi Krishnamurthy, Professor and Chairman of the Department of Mass Communication and Journalism, Mysore University. In fact, the PG course started in the Mysore University was the first course which started offering a master's program in the entire Southeast Asian region. We were all privileged to study in the University of Mysore. He was a very dedicated teacher. He was among the very few scholars who went to US to get his PhD degree. Very simple person, but he was truly a great academician. All students and teachers who refer his book, The Indian Journalism, knows the amount of research work that he has put in to compile the history of Indian journalism in all languages, from Ashoka to Nehru, as he has stated in his book. A wonderful research book even now, even with all great facilities that we have today, we have not been able to come out with such a book where we can have a look at the developments in various languages of this country. So I really salute this great professor today. And I was impressed by his ideas and also the activities that he conducted when we were students, which made us to continue further. He would arrange special lectures, field visits, model press conferences to help students to gain insights into the profession of journalism. He ensured that media students get all the required facilities in the department. This was during 1970-71. Along with him, Professor Syed Iqbal Khadri, Dr. H.S. Ishwara, Professor Shrikar Bhandarkar, and Dr. K.V. Nagaraj played a major role in developing our personality. I sincerely remember these great teachers who helped me to acquire the required skills to be a good journalist, a teacher, and a researcher. When I took up the responsibility of building a new postgraduate department at Karnataka University, Dharwad, I was inspired by my teachers, their commitment and ideals. I sincerely followed the footsteps of my teachers and built the department over the years. One of the challenges of media education is to narrow the gaps between newsroom and classroom. Even now, we keep on hearing the complaint that there is such a wide gap between classroom and newsroom. Even now, students are being criticized for not having acquired required skills to work effectively in a modern newsroom. I took up this as a challenge and tried my best to make my students extremely familiar with newsroom practices. Writing news stories, attending the functions every day and bringing back the reports, regular translations, model press meets, and field trips were brought into the regular teaching and learning. The regular publication of a practice journal and later one-page daily bulletin helped students to acquire journalistic skills. Publication of a research journal and regular conduct of national and international workshops and seminars helped students to interact with media practitioners more or less on a regular basis. Regularity of such academic programs help to gain status in the field of media education in the country. If you want to achieve success in media education, you need to be abreast with changing media technologies. Unless a teacher gets himself updated, he won't be able to impress students. Good support from the administration is another crucial factor for the success of media education. I was lucky to have the full cooperation from media institutions as well as university administration. If you are motivated, sincere, hardworking, success will certainly follow you. Students would respect and come to you for guidance. My 37 years of regular teaching and research has helped to understand new dimensions of communication, media, and technology. As Mr. Kushal Kumar and Pramod Kumar have mentioned, the new technologies have come to play a very major role, starting from Gutenberg to the internet. They have brought in so much of changes. So many significant changes have taken place. As students, we were learning the UNESCO minimum, availability of media for every 100 people, 10 copies of newspapers, 2 radio sets, and 2 cinema seats, kinds of things. But today, everything is in your hands. And you know that we have more than 100, over 100 crores of, mobile phones, out of which 60 to 70% are smartphones, which can receive internet messages. The new technologies have brought in new challenges and opportunities, especially from the point of view of a media educator. Media education, as we have been witnessing, is getting diversified into newer areas. It is no more only mass communication, it is no more journalism. Long ago, cinema got separated. Print, audio, video production, graphics and animation are branching out, and more specialization is coming up. As you know, we don't have a national body which should regulate, the media education. It is kept open. Anybody can be a media educator. Any institution can start, a course where we find only, if they are able to get a job, that's sufficient. All these days, it was a kind of monopoly of the state universities. Now the field has opened up. Many private universities have come. Many private institutions have come. There have been foreign collaboration today. And many talented students are coming into the field of communication where a lot of specialization is being offered. Digital marketing, data analytics, so many new things are coming. I think this is a big challenge for the teaching community. Media education is getting diversified into newer areas. Specialization is becoming order of the day. It is no more journalism or mass communication. The future is digital, as we all know. The digital media are dominating our life. The increased access to the internet media has brought in significant changes the way we communicate. Today, a child who is normally, say, 3 years old or 4 years old can operate comfortably a smartphone. Even those who have crossed 80, 90, they have also picked up. In most of the cases, children teach the techniques of using smartphone to their elders. That is the reality. And many people had several apprehension that this would not play a major role. Today, a street vendor, a seller of flowers or even smaller things, on streets would also receive digital payment today. So be it in any field, digital is going to play a very major and crucial role in the days to come. The increased access to the internet media has brought in big change to the way we are communicating. This would directly and indirectly affect media education, principles, and practices. As a teacher, I feel that in the coming days, digital media would dictate what is to be taught and what is not to be taught, how research has to be conducted, how the younger generation need to be trained to be able to work effectively, efficiently in the new media. When we look at the ads that invite the youngsters for training purposes or to join a media institution, it's all they talk of social media. They all talk of the digital media, generating content in the digital media, reaching the media. And another significant development that we are watching is the entry of artificial intelligence in media production. Many newspapers are using several softwares which are based on artificial intelligence to check the copy, to rewrite the copy that is being presented by the journalist. Sometimes when you compare an article or a report presented by a journalist with the software that is being developed, the software always takes over the writing of a journalist. Several experiments, especially in Western countries, they have been playing a major role tracking the interest of the readers, and they have also come out with what is known as this news, a kind of introduction of tomorrow's newspaper. Many experiments are being conducted. Now a reader is being very carefully watched by the newspapers, thanks to the softwares that they have developed in artificial intelligence. And some of those experiments have been very successful, and they have been able to help the newspaper to get more ads. And now the online edition has become a common thing. Now the challenge for the the legacy media is to cash on the new technologies to make sure that readers stay with you. You don't want to lose readers. So how do I make a reader stay with my newspaper has been is a big challenge for most of the newspapers. Now online subscription is becoming popular, though it is not very encouraging in India, but in many countries, most of them, there is no physical newspaper today in many countries. For instance, you take New York Times, 5 lakh copies they print, another 5 lakh are subscribers online. Take the example of the Guardian. Guardian sells 1 lakh printed copies, and another 1 lakh is through online subscription. Another very interesting development that we should also note here is now, especially English newspapers are no more limited to their countries of origin. For instance, the Guardian has subscribers all over the world. New York Times subscription is available even in India for 60 rupees per week. So this is the kind of challenge that we as teachers of journalism will be facing in the days to come. So there is a kind of global integration of the world of media, and our quality of teaching, our quality of training need to be harnessed and should get updated every day, I think, as the technology is growing, in a very fantastic, speed. This would definitely directly and indirectly affect media education principles and practices, data analytics, machine learning, artificial intelligence, augmented reality, virtual reality. They are becoming very common these days in the media production houses. Besides, tech giants such as Google, Facebook, Microsoft, YouTube, Apple, and others are introducing the new network technology possibilities, enriching and empowering the public. So today, people are just jumping, leapfrogging as we call it. They don't go step by step. Today, it is possible to send voice messages comfortably. You can ask the computer to read the news. Audio news is becoming very, very popular in most of the, established newspapers. You just press the button, it will tell you what is happening in your area or locality or city or country or whatever it is. So audio news is also becoming very popular, which we neglected for a long time. So there have been a lot of changes. And if a newspaper has got its resources, it can sell it comfortably. New York Times is one classic example where the recipes that have been there, in New York Times archives for the last 50, 60 years is being sold like hotcake. And their crossword puzzle is in big demand all over the world. So there have been a lot of opportunities in the days to come to ensure that newspapers continue to be popular among readers. The legacy media are crumbling and digital media are taking over them. We as teachers of communication studies need to carefully follow the transformation in the field that is taking place and get ready to learn and acquire new skills in teaching, training, and research. This is a new challenge for media teachers. I thank once again the Global Communication Education Conclave for bestowing on me Lifetime Achievement Award. I sincerely thank you one and all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Balasubramaniam, sir. That was an amazing talk. And also you brought down the narrowing gap between the newsroom and classroom, which is very relevant for us as media educators. And I think we are constantly striving in our BOS to reduce the gap so that the employability of our students increase by many folds. This is the endeavor of every teacher and every department head, I feel. So also you brought in a very important perspective of having a national body to regulate media education. I think, that is also one key takeaway in your talk, according to me. And thank you once again on behalf of the committee for accepting this award, sir. And now I would like to invite our corporate speaker, Dr. Chaya Srivatsa, who is an avid socialite, very famous in social media circles, avid user of Facebook, if I can say. So I would like to introduce her to this august audience. She holds a master's degree in English literature and a bachelor's degree in law. She has been lecturer for 10 years and continues her passion for writing. She is a management trainer for corporates. She's been training the Infosians for many years now, as I know. a prolific writer. She's been an independent journalist for over 3 decades and authored several books. Her latest book is Bringing Up Her Boys, her own experience as a mother in bringing her 2 sons. That is her latest contribution to the literary world. She has produced 3 training videos. She has founded an NGO, National Group for Women Achievers, and runs an internet radio station, Women's Achiever Radio. She's worked in the past as a senior executive in both private and public sector. Shaya's last assignment of 10 years was being a life coach with Infosys, as I mentioned earlier. So coming to her awards, there is a list of awards and recognition she has won all her lifetime. I would like to name a few amongst them. She's been an Awake awardee for Enterprise in Public Publishing Industry, the Rajasthan Bangalore chapters of PR Society of India. They have confirmed an Outstanding Women PR Award. She has been awarded by Business Communicators of India. She's won a case study award at the All India Public Relations Society of India Conference, Honorary Exemplary Award for Inspirational Wisdom from Jeevan in Italy. So these are some of her many awards which she has won. And I think she is the right appropriate person to speak on the changing dimensions of public relations to corporate communications. So over to you, Chaya. Looking forward. Yes.
Thank you, Bhargavi. And GSEC, right? Have I pronounced it right?
GSEC, yes, yes.
GSEC.
GCEC is the
I
main
feel like
organization. Yeah.
I
GMEC.
feel an outdated person here. Are we still struggling with that? Hello?
Yeah, you're audible. Please continue.
Okay. I said I'm in a very august company of people who have been in the media for so many years, and I feel really like an imposter. Because
No. You are very much required to add the glamour.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. A glamorous old lady here.
No.
You know, I don't even have a degree in journalism. I became a journalist by default. And I started teaching journalism for 10 years in Bombay. And some of my students are doing pretty well in media today. And I feel really proud when they come and tell me, oh, we were in your class. And I was in advertising also as an advertising manager for an MNC. Why am I giving you this background? Because all this, and I was an independent journalist contributing to over 20 publications on various subjects. The reason why I'm saying this is to say how it all rolled into one role as Chief of Public Relations for a public sector. Because as a PR person, you see, PR was known as a profession without a definition. I think someone wrote it in his book, because there was no academic qualification for PR. And many managements, they defined PR the way they wanted to, because there was no standard procedure of what a PR person should do. So when I got into a public sector as chief of PR, I could pretty much, draw out the agenda for myself as the chief of PR. And I had a very supportive chairman who very readily agreed to the innovative changes I brought about in the PR department. Earlier, PR in public sector was known as the Khana, Pina, Tikana kind of a department, which means you look after the company dinners for various people, then provide the drinking opportunities for them there, and to put them up in 5-star hotels. And it was something that most people enjoyed. Okay. But when I got into it, see, I brought with me my experience in the academia, and I thought all this should converge together in public relations. So I defined it myself. I said, let's do internal communication, external communication, and also community service, which later on became corporate social responsibility. And I'm talking about 25 years ago when I was with this public sector. And the chairman saw a lot of sense in all this and okayed many of my projects. And all these projects were focused on building an internal communication for the internal customers. I believe that if you keep your internal customers, your employees, happy, not by giving them a fat paycheck, but really making the environment congenial for their output and for their performance. So I started a kind of a internal video about the happenings in the company, which could be played. At that time, you had the VCR and you had these. Now, of course, it's so much easier to do all those things. And 25 years ago, it wasn't. It was considered very innovative. And that's how I got a lot of awards for my videos, which I produced about the company, and where the chairman also spoke to the employees on the future projects of the company, etc. So at that time, it was a very innovative kind of a project which I brought about. And that's why I got the award for being an outstanding woman professional. Of course, it brought with it a lot of other heartaches, but then that's part of corporate world, isn't it? And as long as you're allowed to be sincere to your profession, and which I was as a PR chief. And external communication, organizing press conferences. Now, these were very popular, mostly in public sector and government departments. Private sector didn't really focus on PR so much. And the word corporate communication had not yet been coined. So PR was a very exclusive kind of a department for public sector. And public sector had to communicate to the public because they were wholly owned by the government of India, and it was their agenda to communicate to the public that this is what we are doing. And the only media at that time was print media and Doordarshan. It was the only television channel. So half the time, we PR people would be hanging around in Doordarshan, asking them to please cover this program of ours, please cover that program of ours. But the other thing interesting at that time was, we could give them press releases to the publications and they never charged us by the word so much or whatever. They were also looking out for interesting stories from corporate world. And if you could give them something to make the readers sit up and read, they would happily publish them. So a lot of visits to publications at that time, it was Times of India and Deccan Herald and Hindu and Economic Times. They went as many newspapers as they are today. So in a way, it was a very capsulized kind of activity that we had with Doordarshan, with All India Radio, and a few newsprint. And electronic media hadn't yet surfaced at that time. So our work was pretty tight, and we could work within that area and innovate in that space. I would like to give an example of one innovation that I think, I call it innovation. When we launched, I was talking about the public sector, I was working with HMT. So we had launched the Youth Watch. And this was in competition with Titan's Youth Watch called Acura. And we brought out what we call Pace Watch. So I told my chairman, I think since we are addressing youth with this product, we should do something that youth will enjoy. And right away he agreed. And in 6 cities, we had a road show called Humor Elocution Competition for college students. It brought about very, very positive stories in the media because they thought this was very different, very controlled expenditure, because apart from our travel expense and stay, whatever, the whole thing didn't cost the company very much. So you see, PR was appreciated when we came up with innovative ideas to save money, but also to project the image of the company. Projecting the image of the company was important. And make sure that you're not giving out false stories or anything, but making, creating a good rapport with media. I had an extremely good rapport with media because I was basically a journalist myself. So I knew how to tell them what's the kind of story they could be interested in. So we got extremely good coverage in media. And as I said, it wasn't paid media. Now it's different. I think so, because now I'm not in it, so I don't know. But from my friends, I hear that you have to pay for every word that you get printed. So corporate communication has become a little more commercial, I think. Please forgive me, this is my take on it. I'm not being judgmental. I'm just comparing. In the last 25 years, I wouldn't call it innovation, I would call it evolution. From just a standard khana pina tikana kind of a thing to now, like our previous speaker spoke about the various digital innovations that have happened in media. Media today is vast. You can do so much with it. You can create chaos. You can also create harmony. But unfortunately, it's creating more chaos than harmony now. And I wouldn't call it innovation. I think it should change. Developmental journalism has to show its presence more. There are so many things that are happening which have to be communicated to the public. They don't know, but most of the time it's bad news. I think we should focus on not good or bad news, but true news, factual news, which requires a lot of observation, research, going and meeting people. Today it's like they pick up a phone and I call you and say, oh, I want a sound bite from you. I refuse to give it. I said, I don't even know if you're really a journalist calling me. In our days, we went and interviewed them. We sat with them, wrote down what they said, and then, gave them the article. Now it's all sound bites. It could be misinterpreted. It could create a lot of chaos, as I said. So I think media should become a little more personal, not in its attack, but more personal in its approach to any issue. Go into the depths of it. Why did it happen? Who was responsible for it? And make sure that it is not for sensation or TRP. Today, TRP is ruling the world. So I personally feel innovation is in providing good internal communication to your employees, making them feel good. And if you make your employee feel good, they are your best ambassadors. The external communication does not have to have any effort on your part because they will become the ambassadors of the company. They become the image builders of the company. In fact, I had made a video called Image Builders, which got me some awards, and many companies bought it from the company because they wanted it as a training video for their employees. So I feel the media should focus on what's called generative journalism. This is a new concept in management where you write about your employees, their aspirations, their achievements, their families, make them feel good. The feel good factor is important. That I think will be the best innovation. So if generative journalism takes root, you don't need external communication at all. Every employee comes into work with a smile on his face, with a spring in the step, and give their best. So I hope I've said my bit, Bhargavi. It's a little different from what the others have said because, as I said, I'm not, I'm a journalist by default.
No, ma'am, definitely you brought in the critical ideas which you implemented as a PR person in innovation, innovating. So I think that that adds a lot of value to this session this day. And thank you for that. And also this new concept of generative journalism, which you have just gotten. I think we all need to look into this more and introduce it in our syllabus going forward. Thank you for that insightful talk. So, ma'am, now I think any Q&A will can be checked in the chat and can be answered later if there is any. Now it's time to Now it's time to our keynote address from our international scholar, speaker, Dr. Wang Chang Song, whom I would like to introduce now. So welcome, Dr. Wang, to this webinar. It's great having you here, and you had to wake up for this, and thank you for that. You know, we are keeping you awake for this session, but yes, we are all excited to hear you here. Dr. Wang Chang Song is an associate professor and head of the Department of Journalism and Advertising at Xiamen University, Malaysia. He is also the director for the Center of ASEAN and Chinese Screen Studies there. His accomplishments include serving as a jury for several international film festivals held in China and Malaysia. In addition to this, he holds the title of programmer and sits on the selection committee for the Malaysia International Film Festival and Golden Global Awards. At present, he is the vice president of the International Network on Media and Communication, INMC, visiting professor to Cardiff University, UK, and expert fellow for Asian and Chinese Language Cinema Research Center, Beijing Normal University, China. Besides being the author of Genre Analysis, Chinese Youth on Screen 2020, and Chinese Youth Cinema, Youth Film as a Genre 2015, Dr. Wang also has authored and co-authored more than 50 journal articles and book chapters, both in English and Chinese. He's also worked for several international journals as an editorial board member. His research interests include contemporary film theory and practice, media and cultural theory. So we welcome you at this GSEC conclave, Dr. Wang. Over to you now.
Thank you very much for the invitation. And I also would like to have your kind assistance to share the screen as I also prepare the PowerPoint for the keynote speech today.
Right.
This topic has been conveyed at some of international conference organized in Southeastern Asia in 2021. So I was very delighted to share the similar sharings at this event tonight. The topic I'm going to talk tonight is defining the new normal and innovation in media and communication studies. So Dr. Bhargavi, if you are able to share the slides, that would be much more easy for the participants and attendees to look at the slides.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. But anyhow, I will try to carry on the keynote speech tonight. Once again, I would like to mention about myself again. My research area is primarily on film and screen studies, cultural studies, and I'm originally from mainland China, but working in Malaysia for more than 13 years. I'm working for the Chinese overseas campus from mainland China, Xiamen University, and Malaysia campus was established in 2016. So I'm very delighted to be the pioneer of the campus. The topic that I'm defining tonight is primarily related to the new norms and innovation. I believe whenever we talk about COVID-19 pandemic or endemic in some of the regions, so we always have some of the concerns on the maybe SOPs, new norms, and some of the things.
Dr. Wang, sorry to cut you here. You have the access to share the slide. You can share it right now.
Actually, my computer cannot share slides. I have
Oh, is it?
issues with my
All right.
computer setting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
That's why I have difficulties to share.
Okay. Manushri, so we need to share it for him.
Yes, trying, ma'am.
Yeah, okay.
Anyhow, you can just take your time to share the screen. I can still carry on my sharing.
Sure, sir.
If you're interested to search WHO's website, you'll probably see new norms everywhere. And definitely it's also alarming information for most of us when we went through this kind of a pandemics for almost 2 years.
Dr. Wang, I think, have we lost you?
Looks like it.
Yeah, I think we lost him.
Dr. Wang? Yeah, I think he's coming on another visa.
Hello, can you?
Yes, we can hear you now. Yes.
Okay, I think I have some issues with my laptop, so that's why I have to opt to my mobile phone.
Yeah, no issues. We can hear you clearly, sir.
Okay, but anyhow, I would like to also have my slides to be displayed, so that'll be much more easier for everyone to follow, as I have some of the charts and statistics to share with every participant tonight. Just now I stopped at the WHO. It's primarily very simple. I think we are following so many guidelines, instructions from these organizations. And I think many of the media and communication scholars teach social change communication a lot. And we are in the age to experience social change. And we are definitely experience our behavior change. That's why we are always on the relevant research. Dr. May I know whether the slides is displayed?
Not yet, sir. It's no.
Okay.
You can continue, sir.
Do
Okay.
you have a copy? Do you have a file, Bhargavi? No.
Yeah, no, I have sent it to Manushri. Manushri, I have mailed it to you. Manushri?
Yes, ma'am.
Try to
Trying, ma'am. We
share
are
it,
trying,
no?
ma'am.
Yeah. Dr. Wang, in
right.
the back office, they're trying to share the screen. So maybe in the meanwhile, you can
I'm
give
talking, of course,
Yes.
yeah. The reason why I need that kind of particular slides, I also wish to have some of the points that will be much easier for every
your slide is shared. Your slide is shared.
That's actually perfect. You can just start from maybe 4 slides. So you can make it as a full screen so people can see some of the information. Yes, yeah, you can have it as a full screen. To be honest, actually, I'm one of the tested positive patients of COVID-19 in 2021. I personally experienced how painful that was as a COVID test positive. And of course, that's where I start to do some research on. And I start to realize there's so many things we can discuss and what we can contribute as a scholar. Definitely, if you're able to click full screen, you will see there is one quotation from the director for WHO in the Southeast Asian region. And this director put forward that though much about the new norm will indeed be temporary, some of the aspects must outline the present crisis, becoming permanent feature of the politics, social, and economy landscape. So this is actually also one of the very important motivations for me to share the topic tonight, because we are experiencing this so much, and I'm also, as what I mentioned, as a COVID test positive patients, I also feel it is necessary for us to look into several perspectives. Especially as a social scientist, we also need to find our advantage to express our own voices. Next slide, please. Definitely, we will see most frequent use of phrases like cloud use and set strategies. And also we have chances to operate several SOPs, streaming services management, herd immunity, and also we are talking about the interpersonal communications. We're looking at several innovation solutions and technology advancement that help us to enjoy our work from home. There are definitely so many frequent words used during this kind of a period of time. But what may serve better value for research, that would become a question. But again, when we talk about new norm, talk about innovative, it's something that remind all of us what is the tradition. We talk about the new, we talk about innovation, what would be supposed to start. That is actually all lies in the tradition. That's why I also wish to remind all the participants, especially the students for postgraduate studies, to look at the 7 traditions in the next slides. I mean, not probably, next slides, I will probably not really go into every single tradition. Next slide, please, yeah. But there is one, actually from these slides indicate that we attempt to do many measures. We try to make some of a forecast, especially maybe on ICT consumptions. Some of organizations may have the forecast statistics, but in the end, these may not really accurate. For instance, they will forecast that IT spend will drop by 5% in 2020. In the next slides, actually, please click the next slides. You'll probably see the reality tell us something very different. Next slide. We will see, actually, you can also click next slide because there is one circle has been highlighting the figures in 2020. It's actually increasing. Please click next slide. You will see the circles. Yes, yeah. I highlight this purposely. You will see actually the number increase in reality. So as a social scientist, what we need to do and what kind of voices we need to highlight in any kind of research or any kind of expressions. Certainly, as what I highlighted just now, we have to look at the tradition again. But why I keep talking about tradition? Next slide, please. These traditions actually is something that we heavily rely on, even though we not talk about new norms, talk about innovations, look at the new landscapes. Please click next slide. We still have to find the ground where we're supposed to stand on. I'm not meaning to talk about the grounded theory. It's nothing to do with grounded theory tonight. Next slide. You can also skip next slide. Skip this one, please. As communication theory is the field of throughout that is defined as rich, diversity, ideas has been visualized from different kind of publications. But we also have to identify the fact that it is a lack of coherence. And there is no universal agreed upon general theory of communication. And there may be by some way of accounting, for example, different aspects of communication as what we always call some of faculties as persuasive communication, intercultural communication, etc. But they're based on the incompatible meta theory, and that is actually conflicting assumption about the communication and even the very idea of a theory. So that's why I really want to invite everyone to look at the emergencies of the communication theory as a field, especially by looking at the next 7 traditions. Next slides. The 7 traditions actually include, next please. Next, yes, including rhetorics, semiotics, phenomenological, cybernetics, social psychological, and also the social culture theory, critical theory. I may not go to these 7 traditions one by one, but tonight I think many of our scholars have expressed their own observations, findings, and their arguments, whereby we also can locate those ideas according to those traditions, and we can make wonderful discussions accordingly. So I will skip those slides which explain every traditions. Just go ahead. Maybe just skip the slides, please. Please move on the slides. Just move on. Yeah. Next. Because I attempt to explain some of them, but I found it's a little bit taxing. Please move on. Yeah, move on until everything is finished on the 7 traditions. Yes, stop here. Thank you. So I also would like to talk about the current trend based on our explorations on 7 traditions, but this is also some of the areas we are aiming to look at. The traditions of communication theory is constantly evolving, and also intellectual traditions are not walled off from one another. Current thinking of the communication often integrate ideas from different traditions in one creative process that contribute to innovations in the field. That also leads me to give you some accurate examples in the next few slides. Please click next slide. But of course, we also look at the research angles and how we can address the issues. I divide these into 4 perspectives, which include collaboration, visibility, credibility, and incentivity. So I may also not go to one by one, but again, I may give you some examples. Next slide, please. When our chairperson introduced me about my experience and my contributions, not only as a researcher scholar, as a HOD, or as the person in charge in a school. So I'm also trying to having my own professional services to the industry. That's why I have a strong collaborations with Malaysia International Film Festival in these 2 years, though the pandemic has erased the culture of a film festival in the region. But we still highlight the values of a film festival cultures a lot. That's why the collaboration with the industry is very important for any people attending today's session. We're trying to build up this kind of a sense of a community where we have to opt to work from home and we have to keep social distancing, and so many SOPs has been implemented by the authorities, and people may lack of this kind of a sense of a community, and we try to build up again with our effort. So that's why collaboration is something has to be highlighted. Next slide. Yeah, I also talk about something about the visibilities and accessibilities. For instance, when we try to make the film festival again in 2021 with our own effort, but how we can make sure the film festival could be reached. That's where streaming services come in. I think maybe in your country or anywhere you're listening to, you may probably enjoy a lot of streaming services when we work from home. And that's why we find the solutions for the festival, which is to partner with some of the streaming platforms that allow the work to become visible and audiences can access those selections of the work. Of course, as a researcher, next slide, we also look at the credibilities. And right now in this year, I'm trying to voice out as a programmer at the selection committee of the International Film Festival. And also I have to give credits as a scientist. So we address us as an expert, and definitely we have to position ourselves according to the traditions that I spoke just now. That's why I'm also trying to get some of the funding support. Next slide, I also try to get some of the reward and motivate some of the good energies to make the research to be published. And right now, I think I've already published several articles, and in the end, I also would like to share one of them. Next, please. For those people who are very aiming for voice out your own findings and research, next, please. I also would like to highlight some of the, next, please. Highlight some of the research findings from the journal that I would like to use as example. Journal of Communication was actually under the International Communication Association. Maybe you start to think, okay, this is actually one of the leading journals in our field. And what actually is a hot topic that we can also engage and we can try to produce and make sure our own voices could be heard. There will be some of the references for you from the theoretical framework. I realized that agenda setting is kind of an old concept and theory, but it's still very frequently used, whereby the symbolical convention theory is something quite lately discussed. That's why the number is quite small. Precisely, we talk about the social media, and just now I think many of our members talk about maybe the media lines have been changed. Maybe we're no longer consuming those newspapers and traditional media, and social media is becoming the dominant one. That's why a lot of research has addressed the issues on the social media. But again, just now I talk about the streaming medias while we are experiencing working from home and relevant implementations. But you probably will see streaming media is not really heavily discussed at this moment. I think this is still new. In 1990s, some of the American scholars brought forward some of the findings and the features for the streaming media. That's actually the starting point. With the time goes, more and publications address streaming media a lot. I hope in the near future, many of us may pay more attention to this kind of important trend. Next slide, I also showcase some other interesting findings in terms of the angles. Just now I mentioned about the 7 traditions. One of them is actually critical thinking. Critical thinking is very important when we look at the social change communication. How shall we position? That's why critical analysis, rethinking, reconceptualization are heavily used in many publications, and that is actually the angles they start to look into the relevant phenomena, events, and incidents. Again, in the next slides, I also would like to showcase some of the findings from publishers' point of view. Next slide. Well, definitely many people are interested to know, are there many research publications about COVID-19? The answer precisely is yes. But which are the publishers who have strong interest and publish more? You probably will see ScienceDirect publish aggressively a lot of publications of COVID-19. But how about media in specific, which address the issues or relevant events on COVID-19? You will still see ScienceDirect has more publications compared to the others, including Emer, Sage, Taylor Francis. In the last slide, I think, next slide, I also showcase something different, which is psychology. More and more people have their mental issues, maybe mental disorder, stress, and others. Even myself went through some of issues and discussions about psychology while I was under quarantine for 56 days. Many of our friends concerned how you manage your life under quarantine center. So everything actually is all pertaining to psychology. I have my way to manage it. So that's why I also purposely to search some of the publications on psychology during this tough time. Taylor Francis does publish a lot of publications in this particular field. I also put dots underneath this chart. It's actually pretty simple. That's also remind every one of us that you probably have to find your own interest, but we have to ensure our valuable voices could be heard, especially the regional studies may serve a very important values. Next slide, I think there is one sharing from my side. In the very beginning, I mentioned about WHO, and we always finding some of the relevant instructions from the relevant authorities, and WHO is definitely one of them. And very delightfully, I have my publications published by one of the journal under Sage, and this was actually archived by WHO. And this is all pertaining the film distributions in the pandemic across Southeast Asia. And this is something I'm also delighted to share with all of you, that our own voices on the regional issues, but our angles pertaining these issues will be very important. Looking into the tradition of communication theory is something that we need to start to embrace. Although we look at the new norm, we look at innovations as one of the vital aspects, but we can never forget about the ground where we should start and stand as a scholar. Last slide, I also would like to highlight that immerse ourselves to observe our surroundings is our responsibility as a researcher. And of course, we need to find the right tune to express our own voices. And thank God that we have this wonderful opportunity tonight to voice out our original voices. Thank you once again for the opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Wang. That was really an amazing, loaded talk in the end, I must say. So your punching note, immersing oneself to observe, I think will linger in our minds and hearts for long. So I would like to call Professor Kushal Kumar to sum up the whole thing. Dr. Kumar, yeah. So you're muted. Yes. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Bhargavi. It was a wonderful evening. Maybe for Chang, it's a wonderful midnight now. Am I right, Chang? Okay. First of all, I would like to personally congratulate Dr. Balasubramanya, where I worked with him for a couple of years in Bangalore University. And I'm really, really happy and proud to tell the August gathering here that he was my guide for my PhD in Karnataka University. So that is a wonderful,
amazing,
sharing.
sir. Such a revelation.
Yes. So in a way, I'm his student also. In a way, I'm his colleague also. Dr. Balasubramanya, congratulations personally from my side. Congratulations from the team here. And I don't know how much of time is left with me to wrap up, but there are a few things I would like to highlight as far as today's presentations are concerned. Bhargavi, you said that Dr. Pramod Kumar is from literature,
Yes,
and
sir.
he did a lot of insight into communication, and that too highlighting the innovative ideas of Marshall McLuhan. But let me remind ourselves that Marshall McLuhan was also from literature. He was a professor of English who brought in very innovative ideas during those days, 1964, where probably we never thought about internet, we never thought about emails, but yet he said medium is the message, medium is the extension of man. And he compared that to the car wheels, which is nothing but extension of legs. Wonderful ideas. Thank you, Professor Pramod, for bringing this idea. Then we would like to move on to Chaya Srivatsa, a wonderful chronology which she took us from wine, dine, and dance to what is called as paid journalism. I don't think as a PR person who has put in so much experience should be apologetic to say today it's paid journalism. Nothing wrong in it. You're true, ma'am. I've been seeing these things as to how PR practitioners literally purchase time and space in media. One of the most important point which she has made today, I think the young PR practitioner should also keep in mind that internal communication is second to none. Doesn't matter what you say to the whole world, but if you're not able to talk to your own people, then definitely that's not good PR. Let me partially quote from a research work done by my research scholar in lovely professional university. She is doing a wonderful study on crisis communication. And we have interviewed almost 60 professionals, company executives, and nearly 1,000 customers in crisis communication. And one point, one factor that is highlighted in the entire research is all of them, professionals, company executives, and customers, they stress on one thing, that is internal communication. If your internal communication is managed well, any crisis of any kind in any company can be managed well. Because external public can only hear what is happening. It is the internal public not only hears what is happening, it also experiences what is happening. Ma'am, you are very much right. This is a lesson to the modern corporate communicators. Now, let's look at what the blue-eyed boy of the evening, Dr. Balasubramanya, said. He was right. Till date, let me tell you, I've been teaching for almost 39 years. This is my 39th year. I have taught both in public sector and even private sector. We are still struggling to narrow that gap between what is taught and what is expected to be done. Even now, my students come and tell me, sir, when I get a job, when I become an internee, the first thing my boss tells me is to unlearn what I have learned. So Bhargavi, it is for you people to bring into your syllabus so that next generation students don't come and tell you, ma'am, I have been told to unlearn what I have learned in the college. At LPU, let me tell you, honestly, our classrooms, it's not because of pandemic. Even in the non-pandemic time also, we are really, really virtual. There's not a single piece of paper handled. We bring out a journal called LPU Times. It is all digital in nature. Our presence is on multimedia platforms. We have got no physical presence except a few classes which are held on the ground. That should be the approach, a wonderful approach the lovely professional university has. And I experienced this approach in Manipal University, Jaipur also. Then comes to the keynote speaker, a wonderful beginning, Dr. Chang, new normal. I think this is exactly what we need to tell our students. We always take pride in talking about the traditions which we have gone through. We always take pride in talking about radio, television. We always talk about the 4 theories of press, but those do not fit into the present agenda of teaching. And you're very much right when you said we have to move from the rhetorics, which is the oldest thinking, and to the newest, that is critical analysis. So today, I think our students should be taught data analytics so that they can learn critical analysis, not necessarily harping on what Socrates said thousands of years back. I think we have to come out of that research jargons like deductive logic and inductive logic and think about what is the new logic the media, the internet is trying to provide us. Excellent point, Dr. Chang here. And he also talked about integration of ideas. That has never happened in journalism education, to be very frank with you. I have seen the syllabus of not only the universities in our country, I've seen the syllabus outside also. They're still very traditional because we don't see any integration of ideas at all. I don't have a person from film and television to integrate his ideas into, say, communication theories. That is not happening. That firewall has to be broken so that we can integrate the ideas from one to another. So I think this is the right time. The younger generation has to break that wall and try to come out with a convergence, not in terms of media, but the convergence in terms of media education. So that has to take place. A lot of responsibility is there on your shoulders. Me and Balasubramaniam are almost the fading stars, very well recognized for our hard work. So obviously your slide attracted my attention. Once upon a time, we were talking about agenda setting as the primary thing as far as media theories are concerned. You broke that monotony and brought in what is called as social media. And your slide was excellent to tell us how we have seen a phenomenal rise in social media and almost a stabilization in terms of agenda setting. I don't think media sets the agenda anymore. I don't think radio, television, and newspapers are setting the agenda anymore. It is the social media which is setting the agenda for the modern generation. Right, sir? Hats off to you. Fantastic thinking. Last but not the least, you also spoke about streaming media. Yes, it is very, very nascent in nature, but definitely a time will come where all the earlier theories of media would fade in and newer theories like social media, streaming, and whatnot would come. Thank you, Chang. Excellent presentation. Lovely ideas. Did I miss anybody? Not. So, Bhargavi, though you are a moderator, you also pinpointed certain things which our speakers spoke tonight. Wonderful moderation, wonderful pinpoint of ideas. Once again, Balu sir, can I see you?
Yeah.
So nice to see you. Hope to meet you sometime later. I've been moving around for almost 17 years, not in Mysore, but probably I'm planning to come back. One day I will definitely meet you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Congratulations from my side. Pramod, sir, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much. May I reciprocate and your scholarship, your public-mindedness, and sir, be it private or government sector, I think we have to bring back that public-mindedness. I mean, otherwise we don't need to unlearn or like reposition ourselves. Everything that we do, I think with your sense of vision and with your sense of this veteran experience that has come out, I think that the most important takeaway is that whatever we do in this media education, all theories and put together, who is the last person, who is our who is the receiver. Let's look at the most important grassroots realities and not overlook that. Everything else will fall into place. Thank you very much, sir. I'm so grateful.
Thank you. So nice.
So
yes, Bhargavi, over to you now.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. I have no words. It was one of the best sessions, I feel, because, it was so emotional having you, your guru and colleague together. Unknowingly, I brought you together and, right. So, Chaya, you really brought in such new perspective so effectively. Thank you so much. Dr. Wang, thank you. Thank you for, as sir said, a unique convergence of media theory scholarship with film studies. I think we need to look into this new norm, which you have brought actually from now on. And Balasubramaniam, sir, thank you for mapping the media education for us, in your acceptance speech. And Professor Pramod, so, you brought in the new perspective with regards to development. You rethought about our development communication in a new way. And also, we congratulate you for introducing a course in IGNO in development communication, we are all curious to know the development and how much impact, it does on students, and how the students' acceptance of that course. We would like to know more on that going forward. So with this, I think we have come to an end with our media, innovation and development, changing landscape in 21st century. As I told you, this is the 73rd GCEC, Global Communication Education Conclave, which was an initiative which started during COVID by professors like KG Suresh, Ujjwal Chaudhary Sir, Uma Pandeji, Ambrish Saxena, and others. So we thank all of them for providing us this opportunity, bringing us all together, helping us to have this discussion once again. And thank you, Manushri, for wonderful coordination in the back office. Good night, everyone.
And
Thank
on
you.
behalf of Global Media Education Council, I would like to thank you, Bhargavi, for pulling off the 73rd session so beautifully, and with all the wonderful panelists. It was a pleasure listening to you all. Thank you all. And Lifetime Award winner, Professor Balasubramania, special congratulations and wishes to you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Punita ma'am.
Thank you.
Good
Thank
night,
you.
everyone.
Everyone, thank
night,
you,
good
Dr.
night.
Bhargavi. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Dr.
Good
Vani.
night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.